Today we are going to see the difference between Angular 1 and Angular 2 or higher. Angular 1 was created in 2009 by Google to achieve powerful single page application. Over time, it has gained support from many developers. They have created a lot of useful packages that made coding even faster. More and more things were added to the code. So the Angular team decided to create completely new framework that is Angular 2. Angular 1 was made for responsive UI and two-way data binding of an application, but it didn't support mobile. Angular 2 was made with mobile-oriented architecture. Native script helps Angular 2 mobile development faster and more effective. In short, Angular 1.x was not built with mobile support in mind, where Angular 2 is mobile-oriented. So Angular 2 is not an upgrade of Angular 1, but it is completely rewritten. Angular 2 provides more choice of languages. You can use any of the language from ES5, ES6, TypeScript, or Dart to write Angular version 2 and above code. TypeScript is a superset of ES6 and it's backward compatible with ES5. Angular version 2 and above also has benefit of ES6 like lambda operator, iterators, or reflection mechanism. Angular 1 uses term of scope and controller. You can add many variables to scope that will be visible in view as well as in controller. Angular 1.x also had a concept of root scope. Variables in root scope are available all throughout the application. Angular version 2 or above does not have a scope concept of scope or controllers. Instead of them, it uses hierarchy of components as its main architectural concept. Components are the main building blocks of UI in Angular application. An Angular application is a tree of Angular components. Angular components are a subset of directives. Unlike directives, components always have a template and only one component can be instantiated per an element in a template. Angular 2 and above uses structural directive. The structural directive alters the layout of a DOM by adding, replacing, and removing its element. Angular 1.x directive syntax has been changed as ng-repeat to star ng for and ng-if to star ng-if, etc. In Angular 1, we use route provider .when to configure the routing. In Angular 2, we use at route config syntax to achieve that. So the routing syntax is also changed. ng-view present in Angular 1.x is replaced with router outlet. So now let me see other differences of Angular 2 and above compared to Angular 1. So the local variables are defined using hash prefix. Angular 1.x two-way binding ng-module has been replaced with square bracket, a round bracket, otherwise parenthesis, inside that ng model, camel case. So that is the way of achieving two-way data binding. And one-way data binding, also called a property binding. So whatever the property you wanted to bind as a one-way binding, you should give inside the square bracket. Angular 2 was 20 KB lesser than Angular 1 in file size. It uses hierarchical dependency injection system, which is the major performance booster of it. Angular 1.x filters are called pipes in Angular 2 and above, but the syntax remains same. Angular 2 uses camel case syntax for built-in directives. For example, class is now ng class and ng model is now ng model. So let me see other differences. So to define a service in Angular 1.x, there are different ways. We use factories, services, provider, constant, and values. But in Angular 2.0 and above, we use class for everything. Class is the only way to define a service. Dependency injection achieved by a constructor from a class. Angular 1.x is easy to set up. All you need to do is to add reference to the library and you are good to go. Angular 2 is dependent of other libraries and it is required some effort to set up. That's where Angular CLI got created. Angular 1.x has two ways to bootstrap an Angular. One is ng-app attribute, another one via script. Angular bootstrap of document and your project. In Angular 2, it has only one way to bootstrap Angular via the code. That is, first import the bootstrap and import your main component and use bootstrap of method to actually initiate bootstrap in your app. So the conclusion, Angular version 2 and above is mobile oriented and better in performance. Angular 2 and above provides more choice of languages. Angular 2 and above implements web standards like components. Angular 2 and above is not easy to set up, so Angular CLI got introduced. Angular 1.x controllers and scopes are gone. Controllers are replaced with component. Angular 2 uses has prefix to define local variables. Structural directive syntax has been changed. Angular 2 and above uses camel case syntax for built-in directives. Angular 2 and above directly uses the valid DOM element properties and events. One-way data binding directive replaced with property binding inside the square braces. Two-way data binding is also replaced with ng-model to square braces, round braces inside that ng model. So adding bootstrap in application has been changed. Dependency injection syntax has been changed. Routing syntax has been changed. So these are the main differences between Angular 1.x and Angular 2 and above higher version. Thank you.